Gelatin is one of those pantry staples that we all have, but there's so much more to know about gelatin, and we're here to cover them all.
So today on WTF, we're going to cover all of our types of gelatin, from using a titanium in a ramen broth, a platinum in a lemonade jello, and a fish gelatin in a crispy mushroom puree. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Guerin.
And I'm Janie Wang, the owner of Modernist Pantry. Today, Scott and I are going to be covering all about gelatin. And you may have already used gelatin before from your local grocery store, but you've probably never encountered all the different types of gelatin that we carry here, as well as all the different functions that they'll cover. So what we hope to do today is just explain all the different types of gelatin, how they work, and how they can help you level up your recipes. So Scott, why don't we start with the very basics of, like what is an unflavored gelatin and how is that different from what people might have seen, like from Jello, which is what we typically grew up on?
Yeah, so the most common gelatin that we're used to eating or seeing is Jello brand pudding or Jello brand Jello. And that is technically gelatin. There is gelatin in there, but when you purchase one of these, they may have great, beautiful colors on the outside, but they're not going to add any color to the dish. They're not going to add any flavor to any of your dishes. They're just going to be a gelling agent to help thicken whatever it is you're making.
Right, and what we have here, we have both powdered gelatin, which is what most people are used to, and we also have sheet gelatin, which comes in these kind of beautiful, clear sheets, and we probably should have taken out a few, but we'll do that later.
It's okay.
The pictures will be on the blog, link in the description below. So what is the difference between a powdered gelatin versus a sheet gelatin?
All right, so a powdered gelatin is in a granular form. They're both animal products, some made of pork. We do have fish and beef up front here. But powdered gelatin is a granular product. It's a gelatin. And the sheet gelatin is laid out in sheets. It's the exact same thing. It's just formed into sheets. And the sheets are all weighed and measured. And we can talk about that in just a minute. The best part, between the two of them is if you have the sheets and you bloom them, which we will get to, it's not going to fall apart. Some of it may not get left in the bottom of the container as if you were with the granulated gelatin, the powdered gelatin.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I know just a few weeks ago, you and I were talking about volume versus weight, and how if you're doing a tablespoon of gelatin, maybe you'll get a different measurement every tablespoonful, but a sheet will always be a sheet. Right?
Yeah,
so it's kind of consistent.
One sheet is one sheet, yeah, and you'll get the same gelling properties out of each sheet. So it's really great in that sense, and it takes a lot of the thinking out of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I know you just touched upon this a little bit, which is a blooming.
Yes.
So blooming, if I understand it correctly, is how you use gelatin. Is that right?
Correct. So when you're going to use gelatin, they're in a dry sheet form. So you're going to have to hydrate them slightly in water, and that's what blooming is. There's another term, and it can be a bit confusing because it's the exact same word. It's bloom, and that is the strength of the gel. That is the clarity and the purity of the gel, and both those lead to the strength, like I said.
Okay. And one of the unique things over here in Modernist Pantry is that we are the only people who carry basically 5 different bloom strengths of sheet gelatin, and you'll probably find 1 or 2 around. So we have this beautiful array here, all the way from platinum, which is our highest bloom, to titanium, which is our lowest bloom. Can you talk a little bit about what is the easiest way for someone to understand what bloom strength is? Okay,
so bloom strength, if I were to take 1 gram, measure these sheets, cut off 1 gram, each of them would have a different gelling strength. So 1 gram of titanium to bronze to silver to gold to platinum, all the way up the scale would be stronger each one. So titanium being the weakest, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum being the strongest. So 1 gram will have a different gel strength. Now, that you're generally not measuring this by weight. Recipes will ask for a certain amount of sheets, and if they do measure it by weight, then you can deal with the weight, and we have a whole conversion sheet for that. But if I wanted to take, let's see, a recipe has 1 sheet of silver gelatin, but all I have is platinum. You can absolutely substitute because all these sheets are weighed so that they all technically have the same gelling strength at the weight of their sheet.
Yeah, and that is, I think, just a super confusing concept for most people. I think the easiest way to say it is if your recipes call for a sheet and you have a sheet, you can use any of these sheets, right?
Yes.
If I understand correctly, if I go with a titanium versus a platinum sheet, what difference will I see in the final product, even though they have the same gels?
So first, I'm going to talk about the difference between the two sheets themselves.
Okay.
So both sheets will gel to the same strength, but a titanium sheet weighs 5.5 grams.
Okay.
A platinum sheet weighs 1.7 grams. So there's a drastic difference in how much they weigh, and that's why a titanium sheet is able to thicken or gel the exact same as a platinum sheet because there's so much more gelatin, so much more gelatin by weight within that sheet itself.
Right.
And then once you add it, you're going to, you may not get the clarity. Obviously, with the more amount of gelatin, you're going to get that yellowing effect. With the titanium, you get that yellowing, but with the platinum, you get a nice crystal clear color.
Okay. So when people are thinking about which one might be right for my particular application, what are some instances where you might want to use, let's say, a bronze or a titanium versus some places where you probably definitely want to go with a platinum or a gold?
Sure. So actually in our quick ramen broth, which we have here, which we make the ramen broth and we supplement it with gelatin so that we don't have to go through the entire 24-hour process. We can get that kind of unctuous mouth texture that we want from a broth in a short amount of time. We can use something like a titanium because I can add it directly to the stock, and it will thicken it. It will give it that nice texture, but I don't have to worry about it because it's already a cloudy stock.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah.
So with the platinum, I took it and I actually made this really beautiful lemonade jello, which we're going to have a recipe up on the blog, and it'll also be in the description below. So I wanted to use platinum because I want that nice, beautiful, natural-looking, lemon color. I don't want it to have the yellowing that you would get from a like a titanium, and I want it to be nice and clear so when you pick it up, it's like that jello that you're used to.
Okay.
Right? So it's a nice, like a gelatin-based dessert. It's just like a jello, and you can do with it what you would do with a regular jello.
Okay, so as you can probably already figure it out here, we in our test kitchen prefer to have sheet gelatin for I think all the benefits that Scott talked about, the ease of use, consistency, no clumping and all that stuff. However, we do carry two different types of powder gelatin, a beef gelatin and a fish gelatin.
Yes.
So do you want to talk a little bit about when or why people might want to use the two beef and porks? Sorry, beef and fish.
Pork, beef, and fish, right? So the beef gelatin, fish gelatin are nice and high in bloom, so bloom strength that is. So 250 bloom, they're really powerful, gelatin gelling agents. So I like to use like the beef gelatin if I'm making certain things, or sometimes I just mix it with water and I want to clarify my fry oil. I can just pour it right in there after the oil's been cooled, and after a night of sitting out, it will settle to the bottom. It'll pull all those little particles out, and it's a really great little trick you can do with something like a beef gelatin. It doesn't taste like beef. The fish doesn't taste like fish, so you can add it to any of these ingredients if that's what you have. A lot of people love to make gummy bears and things like that, little gummy candies, because it's such a high bloom strength and it works really well. With the fish gelatin, the cool part about that is that it melts at a lower temperature. So when you eat it, it actually melts at around 77 degrees, where beef gelatin melts around body temperature, which is 97 degrees. So with this recipe that we made, we actually made a crispy mushroom pudding. And we added the fish gelatin to it. And the reason why we did that is that the frying process is so quick at the end. We wanted it to just barely melt so that when you ate them, they weren't like a scalding hot bowl of soup on the inside. They were just barely melted, and they were like a beautiful pudding on the inside. So we're actually going to be frying some of those here in just a minute.
Okay, is this the pudding right here?
Yeah, so we took out the pudding. You can see that we just made it. We added some of the fish gelatin. We allowed it to set overnight, and then we cut it into cubes and we breaded it, and we're about to fry it.
Okay, yeah, let's check it out.
Do some of that, and I'll just do a few of them, right? So I'm just going to pop it right into my oil.
And what's on the outside of that pudding?
So what we did is we did flour, egg, breadcrumb, but we mixed in some dried mushroom into the breadcrumb, and then we also went back into the egg and back into the breadcrumb. So we did like a double dip process after a standard breading procedure. And the reason is that it is liquid on the inside once it heats, so we don't want it to be coming out. So after about 30 seconds, I'm just going to start moving these around, right, so you can get some beautiful color on them. And you'll hear the liquid start to come out, and that's when we know we want to take them out. These are all fully cooked. They're really beautiful. So all we have to do is just get that outside crispy. We can put them onto our plate, and then we can have some in just a minute.
Okay, so as that's frying, I think, if someone is thinking, hey, I would love to make this mushroom pudding, but I kind of want to stay away from meat products. Unfortunately, all these are animal-based.
Yeah.
Do we have any vegan or vegetarian alternatives that people might want to think about and check out?
So yes, we have a number of different vegan-based alternatives, or just anything from agar to our vegan gelatin. We have tons of different types that you can supplement for the fish gelatin, which is inside of this.
Yeah, I think we already did a WTF around vegan gelatin.
Yes, we did.
The link will be in the description below, and I believe that's episode number, it's one of our first ones.
103, I think.
103, yeah. So check out episode number 103, all about vegan gelatin. I know we did agar. We've done tons of stuff. So if you're thinking this is not for you, we do have alternatives, but there is something very special, I think, about the unique qualities of a gelatin. All right, so are these set? That was really quick.
We're going to give it just a second because the outside's nice and hot, but there are things that we need to cover about conversions.
Oh, that's right.
So if you do have a recipe that doesn't say, 1 sheet of platinum or 1 sheet of titanium, it just says 100 grams of 250 bloom or 225 bloom. And all you have is, the titanium, which is a much lower bloom, and all the bloom strengths are listed directly on the package themselves, so you will know.
This is 120.
So we do have a sheet on our blog, blog.modernisttpantry.com, or just follow the link in the description below. And you'll be able to go there and we'll show you how much by weight the conversion is. And if for some reason you have an issue with that, which people have, it's a little bit confusing because there's a lot of numbers on there, you can just send an email right in. Ask a Chef is right on our blog, and it'll come to me, and I'll answer your question for you.
Yep, and you can always leave your comments in the in this video as well. We do check them every single day. And then also, speaking of conversion, what if someone's like, I have sheep, but my recipe calls for powder, or let's say vice versa.
And sometimes recipes call for like 1 packet of gelatin. That's a common measurement people use, is because you get 1 packet out of the box, and then, I want to switch it over to 1 sheet. So one of those packets, and the best way to do this is one of those packets equals about 7 grams, right? Then you can convert it to the sheet that you have, but the most simple way to do that is just 3 sheets to that 7 grams or that 1 packet, right?
Okay.
So for every packet of like the Knox brand gelatin, you can use 3 sheets of a gelatin.
Okay, so that's a quick way to do it when you're not sure how exactly that's going to go.
And one last one before we dig into these. I know you want to, but
I want to see them melt.
If you don't know, a good rule of thumb, let's say you have, we'll say 1 cup of liquid. That's a really easy measurement. Everyone knows 1 cup of liquid that you want to gel. We'll just say it's 2 sheets per that 1 cup of liquid.
Okay, that's pretty simple.
Yep.
Do you need to alter that at all? If you have like alcohol or anything like that, would that affect how much you use?
The alcohol can affect it. Obviously, if there's a high amount of alcohol, you do need some water in there to, to allow the gelatin to dissolve and be able to hydrate within it. So there needs to be some water content in there. That way it has the structure to hold on to that alcohol, because you can't just do grain alcohol shots. I mean, some people may, but it's going to be very difficult to.
Okay, awesome.
So you want to try one of these? I put them with a little bit of sauce. If you want to, crack it open. It's a little bit. It's a special mayonnaise that we use here in the kitchen that we don't necessarily have a recipe for, but it's delicious. And when you pop one of those open, you can see the soup kind of runs out. I'll do it for the camera here.
I know.
Right.
Sorry, my soup all ran out.
But see how it's just like this nice, beautiful mushroom pudding that just kind of comes right out of there. If you want, you can just put a little bit of the sauce on there and get some nice crispy.
Oh, that's really good.
Perfectly savory.
I know. Yeah, because you're expecting like a mouthful of bite, but all you get is like The soup?
Super smooth soup. Yeah, I really love that recipe, and it's available on our blog. So.
It's super good. Well, hopefully we've helped you understand what your different options are with gelatin today. And if you don't remember any of this, don't even worry about it. Just go to the link in the description below. It'll take you to the blog that has all the conversions, all the bloom strength, all the information in it. And as Scott said, we're always here to help if you do have any further questions. So from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Guerin. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. And turn that bell on because it notifies you when we drop a new video.
If you like any of today's recipes, go to blog.modernistpantry.com. There you'll find recipes, Ask a Chefs, and tips and tricks, and more.
And if you have a friend who you think would like this video, share it with them.
And to get any of these great ingredients, just go to our website, www.modernistpantry.com.
And until next time, we'll be here in the Test Kitchen, helping you create memorable and magical experiences.